Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and I hope everyone's doing alright. It's been a while since I've been able to make a video. Been busy doing other things, but we have found another lawnmower, the one on the end here, and we'll explain that in a minute. I want to thank my new subscribers, Michelle Alcock, Needwater, and Michael Hodge. Thanks for the support on the channel. I appreciate it. Glad you guys enjoy watching the videos. Just a quick explanation. This first lawn boy here was one that was thrown out by a neighbor. Turned out it was just a dirty carburetor, and that's served me well last year. And then this year, it was actually over the winter, I had found this Craftsman, which with the Honda engine. Decent engine. It needed some wheels on the front and some work on the transmission. I do have a video on that that work that was done to this, and so far it's been a great machine. And now this one, although it was much dirtier, when I had found it, was at the corner of the street, and it was kind of just sitting there a day after garbage day, and I was wondering whether it was actually garbage or not, so I kind of waited. And then when I had seen someone down the street, I went down there and I had asked them, is this actually garbage? And it's always good if you can get some kind of background on the mower. Now, although it wasn't their mower, they did say that it wouldn't start. It was seized up, which it was. I've already gone ahead and taken off the head here. It's very easy. You've got a series of bolts there. And I have cleaned it up a little. It had some oil on it. Actually looked much worse. You know, it's not the best mower in the world. You know, it's a 5 horsepower engine. It is a Craftsman, judging by the sticker and the serial number. The first and second are the month, I believe. The second two are the day, and the last, and the fifth and sixth number would be the year. So this would be 08, which would be the same year that that one would have been made. So what I had done first was clean it up, because I always clean things up before I work on them. I did take this off, and I'll go through when I put it back together on where these screws or bolts go. It's not a big deal. There's only, you know, one on this side, one on this side, one on the front. And they were right. When I had first tried to pull this lawnmower over, it was seized up. You couldn't pull it, so I thought maybe it had something to do with the recoil here. Well, the recoil works fine, but once I had removed the spark plug, there was oil that was all over the spark plug. Muffler here. I pulled the muffler off. There was oil coming out of there. There was basically oil coming out of every orifice possible here with this one. So a number of things could have happened here. Number one, it could have been overfilled with oil. That's one of the symptoms of that. And if you do overfill it with oil, when you're pulling it over, oil's getting into the cylinder, and you're trying to compress oil, and you can't compress oil, so it will give you some resistance. It's not going to crank over, so it's kind of give you the illusion that it's seized up. Now this engine is definitely not seized up. I've taken, I want you to see I got to bolt up the top here and clip it off so that the brake doesn't keep it from turning here. So we just put a clip on the handle like that, and that'll separate this brake from there, so it will turn. Now you'll see as I turn it, get a little better view there. You'll see as I turn it, the piston is moving, and the valves are opening here. You have the intake valve here, because the gas comes over from here, so that's your intake, and then your exhaust valve. where after it's burned out, it releases the exhaust through the muffler. So we definitely don't have a problem with the crankshaft. The only other issue it would be is if the piston rings were worn. That's a possibility. That would allow the oil in there. Now we do have the head here, which is really filthy. We're going to clean that up. And I'm not going to go with too much work into this. I did do a preliminary cleaning of it. There is gas in the tank. I removed the head and the gasket, and so I'm going to go ahead and clean this stuff up. And before I get too involved with it, we're going to put a little oil in it, and we'll crank it over, and we'll see what we get out of it. You know, if it's shot, it's shot. Not a big deal, but it's worth a shot to see if it will run. So welcome back to the channel, and let's get involved. Alright, so we're back here, and we've put out the parts here that we're going to clean. We have the head here. Like I said, I did do some preliminary cleaning of it. There is a little bit of oil in here, and also some carbon, which is expected inside of here. We do have the air filter, which, you know, it is pretty filthy, as you can see. But that's an easy clean. We can just take that in the sink with some Dawn or something, and we'll clean that up. I did want to mention that the people I had talked to down the street said that the landscaper, whoever uses this mower, when they threw it out, they said the motor was shot. So we know that by turning the motor, the piston's working and the valves are working, so that's not shot. The only other way it would be shot if there was a hole in the crankcase. That's not the case here. So the only issue is going to be one of two issues. It's going to be, as I mentioned before, either the piston rings are worn and it's allowing oil to pass into the cylinder, which that wouldn't make it shot either. Those can be replaced. It's really not that hard of a job. This is a pretty simple engine here. It's a smaller engine. It's even got the metal gas tank, so I kind of like the old school style of that. But that's something that could be done, and wouldn't cost that much. I think rings might be 20 bucks. So if you did the labor yourself, you could save some money there. So that's one of two things. So like I said, I don't want to go too far into it. I want to just get it cleaned up, do a basic cleaning of it, and then we'll put some oil in. You know, maybe the oil was overfilled by accident. That would cause that. We'll make sure the level is right, and then we'll just give it a fire up, and then we'll inspect the spark plug afterwards. And if there's a bunch of oil in there, well, then we know that it's shot. Now we could do a compression test. I'm not going to go ahead and do that because, you know, if the head gasket shot, that's an easy replacement, and if it's shot that bad, it's probably not even going to start up because it's not going to have any compression, and you need that. So what I'm going to do is just clean this up first. We have the head here. We're going to clean that up, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I'm just going to take some gas. You make sure you want to do this outside for sure. You could use old gas or use a brake cleaner or carb cleaner. You know, I prefer this right now because I'm out of the carb cleaner and I don't feel like going to the auto parts store right now. So let me get a rag. Alright, we have a rag here. We got a screwdriver. We're just going to dip this rag in the gas here. And we're going to just give this thing a cleaning. So it doesn't need to be perfect. You know, we'll scrape off what we can. We don't want to be too rough with this. It is aluminum, so you just want to just get some of that excess oil off. And we'll clean around the gasket area. You know, if this fires up and it works good and we don't have any issues, and all it was just oil that was overfilled, and then we'll come back and maybe we'll put a new gasket on here and we'll go further with cleaning up everything. But it's going to be good enough to fire up and give it a test. So I'm kind of excited about that. Of course, I don't know what the results could be. I did have it tipped and clean most of the oil out of it, but you know, we might get a little bit of smoke at first. So that looks pretty darn good. I mean, it does have some carbon on it, but that's not going to affect how it's going to run right now. We just want to get it running, and then I'll come back and I'll get a wire brush in here, you know, and I'll clean that up. You know, you could either use a small brush here. You could do something like that. Again, you don't want to be too aggressive with this. This is aluminum, so you want to use like a soft bristle brush with that. So it's looking a lot better. Definitely looking a lot better. Alright, so see, it's not perfect, but we did get most of the carbon off of there, and the oil is off of there. So I'm going to go in and wash my hands, and then we're going to give the valves just another quick wiping, and then we'll put this cover back on, and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, so we've cleaned up our valves a little more, so we could wipe this gasket off a little bit. And then we're just going to place this back on here. Typically I'd replace this, or you can get a gasket maker and you can you know, put some on this side of the gasket, put some on this side, and kind of sandwich it in that way. So we're just going to put this back together here. Line up the gasket. That looks about right. We'll just put a couple screws in here, but we're not going to tighten them down. We're going to These screws have to go in a star pattern when we tighten them. But we're just going to get this started with a couple. Alright, just going to do it by hand. Now these top three go to this bracket here. There's a spring on here that hooks up to the carburetor. You'll see the governor arm here. So let's actually just take this one out. This is one of the three for the bracket. We'll get the bracket on there. Put the other screw in here that holds this bracket on. Get the rest of these bolts in. And like I said, we'll crank them in a star pattern so it makes sure that this is tight and level. You don't want to over tighten it. I think we have one more here. So that's a total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll get it as tight as we can here. Get my wrench. That one's too big. That'll work. Except we're going to tighten this in a star pattern. And typically you'd use a torque wrench to maybe 140 pounds or so, but we're going to use common sense here. This is aluminum, so you don't have to get crazy with it. Don't want to over crank. Good. Good. Alright, so we have the head tightened up there. We're just going to go ahead and tighten up this one screw. We'll clean up the spark plug. There was a lot of oil that was coming out of this. Has been sitting for a few days, so we'll go ahead and clean this up and then take a piece of sandpaper and just clean that up. You know, it does help to check the gapping. If you have a gap tool, you want to look at the manual for that, see what the gapping is. The muffler's been cleaned here. The muffler had a bunch of oil, was pouring out of it. So we cleaned that up. We let it sit for a couple days on some paper towels to kind of let the oil drain out of there. So we'll tighten that back on. So we're almost ready for our test here. Just kind of preliminary test to see, well, is it going to run? Is the engine shot? Like I said, we'll start it up, put a little oil in there first, and then we'll check, we'll open up the spark plug, and we'll check the muffler as well, and we'll see if there's any oil that's building up in there. So we clean up and we'll get to the next step. Alright, so we put the valve cover on there, and we did clean up the spark plug. And if you can see, that's a lot better. You don't have to get crazy with it. Like I said, just take some sandpaper, clean that up a little bit. I don't know if you can hear when I'm turning this. You could feel air coming out, which is a good sign. But we're going to see if it has compression. We're going to pop this spark plug in there. There was a spring here that hooked to the throttle. That was a part of this bracket here, which also goes to the governor arm. So we put that on there. And then next we'll put the top cover on it, and add a little oil, and the moment of truth is near. We're going to see if this is actually shot. Like I said, nothing is really shot unless the value, the price to fix it exceeds the value of it, I guess I would say. You know, it's not the best looking mower in the world. Like I said, it does have some rust here. But if I wanted to, I could take the motor off of it, and we can get some tools on there, sand it down, and repaint the thing if I really wanted to get serious about it. And who knows, you know, if it runs good and I have some time, maybe that's something I'll do. Now the front wheel, this thing with the front wheel was bent out. I don't even know, it was like a 45-degree angle. I don't know how that happens, but that was one of the first things I noticed when I had found it. But I did straighten this bracket out, and the wheel is straight. You know, what I like to do is if this runs and it runs good, then I'll go further. We'll clean the wheels up, you know, touch it up, and it'll look like a brand new mower. So I'm going to go in, and I think I'm going to wash this filter. The air filter doesn't look all that great. So I think I'm going to go on in there while I'm washing my hands, and I'm going to get this cleaned up. And then we'll come back, and that'll be one other thing out of the way as we inch closer to seeing if this curb find here that was labeled as shot is actually shot. So we're going to investigate that. So we'll be back. Alright, so we have our air filter here. Didn't clean up too bad. You know, the other side's not the greatest in the world, but you know, we'll make it work for now. Like I said, we can always invest in one after we see if this thing's actually going to run. So I'm going to pop this thing on the top here, and we'll put our long screw in there. It's a regular screwdriver. So that takes care of that. We have our spark plug. Go ahead and put that in there. Get my spark plug wrench here. Just take that out. I usually put it in by hand first. Yeah, that looks good. You don't want to strip it. Get it snug in there. And we're almost ready. I think I'm going to put this cover back on here now. I always keep the screws where they go so I don't lose them. Go ahead there. Super hot today, super hot. Let me get the right ratchet here. One for the front here. Alright, so we have the cover back on, and I always leave the spark plug wire off of the spark plug while I'm working on it. It's a good idea for safety reasons. So we're just going to add a little bit of oil. We're not going to get crazy. Just add a little bit at a time here. And we'll check the stick. Could have been that somebody just overfilled it, but it should be in between these lines. There's kind of like a grid lines here. And I'm just going to set it on top. I'm not even going to screw it in there. So we'll add some more. Check the levels. We're not going to be actually mowing with this right now, so don't have to get too crazy with the oil here, because it might be a waste of time. So we've got it halfway in between the grid lines. That's good. So we'll lock that down. Give it a good wiping here. And I think we're ready for a test here. We're ready to see, is this thing going to start up? Is it going to smoke? It could smoke like crazy at first, but that could be just the oil burning off. But let's find out what's going to go on here. So let's move to the next step here. Alright guys, so this is the real test. We're going to get the spark plug wire hooked up, and we're just going to give it a shot. Pump it a few times and see if we can get something out of it. And see if it's actually shot or not. Let's see. Alright. Could smoke a lot. Could be a total disaster. Alright guys, so as you can see, this mower isn't shot at all. In fact, it only smoked maybe for 2 minutes in the beginning. After that I had checked the plug and there was no oil on it, and you had just seen that I just mowed the front grass, did a beautiful job. So something isn't always shot when it's not working, and that's what this channel is about. Of course, it is a Throwaway Society. It's super hot out here, so I'm going to go get something to drink. And I want to thank all of you for watching. Stay tuned for some more videos. We'll probably go through with this one and clean it up a little more. And that'll be it. We'll use it as much as we can. So thanks for watching. If you like the channel, hit like, subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you next find.